Welcome everybody, it's SoccerBeat and it's Mike Morton and Mokoena and Peter du Toit. And we're talking what's trending, what's hot. And as usual, the biggest story, and it's been the biggest story for a while now, is Saleng. And we're going to update you on this story, but stay with us till the very end, because in the second half of the second third of the show, we're going to be talking about Mofokeng and a possible overseas move there. And finally about Kaizer Chiefs right back, Reeve Frosler, what's going on with him. But straight to the current issue, Saleng. Now, very brief background to the story as we know. Firstly, a while ago in the media, an agent reported that he bought a deal to a Arab club or Eastern club, and it was turned down, and that's why the player's upset. That got rebuked by Pirates in the media. Then the rounds doing the story was he's upset because he didn't get an overseas move, and we got sources at Pirates who gave us a very clear picture last week where it said, listen, we try to help the player get a move to Al Ahly. We got him a visa, and Al Ahly pulled out of the deal. We love the boy. He's a good guy. He's getting bad advice. And Cheez unpacked this very well, and Mike spoke about it and said, listen, Saleng, come back. Then something important happened, critically important. Saleng's agent, who's not only an agent, but she's a lawyer, Karabo came, she's from P Management, issued a statement. Now, this statement, at first glance, a lot of people condemned the statement and said it really said nothing. But there's a very important point made in this statement. And it's even more important when you consider that it comes from an attorney, a lawyer, who understands law and contracts. And I don't have to read the whole statement, but the second paragraph. This matter involves significant issues at the core of the employer-employee relationship that require resolution. Our client remains committed to addressing these matters through the appropriate legal and professional channels. And then she goes on to say, given the confidentiality of the matter, that she won't go public on this and discuss it anymore, and she hopes that it's resolved in the best interest of all parties. A very typical legal lawyer response. Now, what is clearly being addressed here is that this is a contractual issue. This is a contractual issue between Orlando Pirates and Saleng, as per the agent's statement. That we can take as read. I don't think, though, in any way what happened previously did us or any media outlet or even Pirates say it was not a contractual issue. It was about wanting to move away. Now, this does not mean the contractual issue could well be a number of things, but one, it could be that the player in the contract states that if an overseas team came for him at a particular price, they would let him go. So if that's in the contract, that could be likely, hence all the talk about Al Ahly, etc., is that there was a buyout clause for an overseas club in the contract, and that has not been accepted, and they are going into a legal fight over that. I personally don't think it's that anymore, because if the deal's gone, it's pointless having that fight to a certain extent. But maybe that is the fight. So one, guys, it could well be, and everybody out there, it's a contractual issue because there's a clause there that he can go if the price is right to an overseas team. Now, let's assume that's not the case. Where else could there be a contractual problem between player and club? Now, Mike, you're an ex-player. Cheez, you're an ex-player. I'm an ex-player. I'm not as relevant as the two of you, because when I played, if you signed a contract with a club, you were signed with that club for life. They could dump you. They could not pay you. You were signed with that club for life until the Bosman ruling came overseas, and until I, funny enough, with Soccer Duma did the Coetzee ruling in South Africa. So you guys know this better than me, and we'd like you to unpack it with me here. So when you have a contractual problem with a club, it can only be over two things. One, money, and two, the length of the contract. Could there be anything else?
Well, there are. No, you are right, Peter. There's obviously contracts have become incredibly complicated over the years, where it comes down to different clauses and bonuses, option years, when these need to be exercised. There are multiple factors that go into contracts now. So it is complex. So obviously we don't know what's going on contractually. But yeah, these contracts have become extremely, extremely complicated over the years.
But Mike, those complications will always boil down to only two factors. Well, three. A discipline factor, but it's clearly not a discipline factor according to the lawyer. It could be a discipline factor according to Pirates because he's not training. But so there are three issues: a discipline factor, which the agent doesn't allude to at all. Pirates haven't alluded to that because they've said that they like the boy, he's a good boy, and so on and so forth. The only other two areas are in a contract that there can be dispute is the length of the contract and money, payment terms.
One, Peter, is maybe the ability to exit the club at a certain stage, whether it be an offer from a club or something, an ability to be released if a certain clause is hit, a certain value of money. If someone had to, you say, well, I'm with
so that was
20 minutes, someone comes in.
That's the first. Yeah, the first point we made, that the offer's been made and it hasn't been accepted. That's the one offer being made, not accepted. But I'm saying that one, that horse is bolted. Why still fight over it? Unless you want to get paid something back out of that. So, Cheese, is there anything besides money and length of contract?
I'd say I think it also will boil down to the clauses where you'd find that maybe there was a buyout clause for any team that comes. Maybe the team did not agree to the figures because at some stage I was in that situation, when I had an offer from a team in France, the club suggested that the money is not good enough, but me as a player wanting to grow, I did not understand the situation. I just wanted to leave. Even if I was still going to earn the same money I was still earning at Pirates, because now the question is, you go into that club and you're still going to be paid what we are paying you, and so that might also be a dispute in terms of the clause. And I love the part that you speak about the money issue, because as players, sometimes, we sign contracts and you find that the following season there's a player that is signed, not even playing, and then you start getting from a source that a certain player is earning more than you, a certain player is getting more bonuses than you. For example, maybe if he scores, he gets a bonus, but you playing regularly, you're not even getting a bonus for it. You're playing week in, week out. The other player, because we also had a similar problem when the other guys were brought in. The guys that came from Super Sport, Katlego Mashego, Tekumudise, Benson Mhlongo. Of course, the guys came in, they had a better package. We were development players, but the argument was always there that we feel like we're not being treated fairly. So I think that might also be the case in terms of Saleng, looking at his performance, that, look, I have an offer, you don't want me to go. There's these players that are earning more than me, they are not even playing. So that could boil down to him actually boycotting and not even going to training.
So that's a good point, Mike. Before you comment on that, that's a very good point. So, in fact, I'd like to add to the points I made. So, number one, there's different kinds of contractual disputes, as Cheese mentions. The agent who is a lawyer is saying it's a contractual issue. We've said one that it could be, but what it's probably not is that there was a buyout clause for overseas or another club in South Africa and is upset that hasn't been taken. But they wouldn't be going to court on that per se. I don't think, because that's already happened. That horse is bolted, unless they're asking for compensation. So that could be it. I think that's the least likely, but that could be it, although it does talk to the narrative of the overseas move. So that's the one possibility. The second possibility is a length of a contract that's disputed. The third possibility is the interpretation of how much money, including bonuses, the player was going to get. But then you bring another angle, that even if the contract is being adhered to, the player has turned around and said, by the way, when I signed this contract, I thought I was one of the highest paid players. I don't think you're paying me fairly anymore because other people have come in from other clubs and are earning much more than me. And I do not believe that this contract is a fair contract anymore. That would be harder to win. But the lawyer obviously believes there's an actual case here. And I'll tell you why your one could possibly be the right one, not that I'm saying it at all, is that she says that our discussions, our priority remain in the client's best interests, and we're advocating for a fair and amicable resolution, which is a solution. And fair and amicable could mean that they're saying, listen, just give him what he deserves. Now, obviously, that's where the difference can be. Pirates may feel he deserves different. But let's just take it out of the contract basis. So, guys, you've heard it here first. Our job is to unpack the mystery around this deal. And we've unpacked it from start to finish. I don't have to elaborate. It's now clearly seems a contractual issue. It may still be with regards to an overseas club. It may be length of contract. It may be, as Mike and Cheese said, about the money. And in particular, that even if the contract states a certain number, the player feels it now unfair. My question to both of you, and you both played for Pirates, but this applies not only to Pirates, but to other clubs, in particular clubs like Sundowns and Chiefs, the bigger clubs. Is it worth the fight? Now, I'm not saying a player must back down for their rights, because I believe in players' rights. I'm sure I did could see ruling with players. But does this not just drag out to an extent where nobody wins? Is this not something that the player should maybe himself go to the club and say, look, my lawyer's advising me this. I know I want to play for the club, but my lawyer is right. And you guys believe, like, let's sort this out. Or the lawyer takes that attitude. Or is the club saying, we won't deal with the lawyer? You know, what do you think? Well, how does this get resolved amicably without the legalities? Is it possible?
Peter, I mean, I'm just thinking
I think it's
for
possible
Saleng specifically.
because I mean, if they said when they signed the first contract, I think everything was going nice. They sat on the table, had coffee, had biscuits, discussed the contract, and now there's issues now, and now they don't want to sit around the round table. I think that's what they need to do, and I think the most important thing here that I pick up, the person that's affected a lot is the player. As much as you've got your agent, you've got your lawyer, those are the people that can go and sort out the issues for you. But now what happens with you as a player in terms of not being able to train, not being able to do what you really love to do, so the player gets really affected mentally as well. I don't think physically is really affected, but I'd say that mentally he's probably affected because he's looking at the situation as if like he's the bad guy, because now whatever talks are coming out, it's always going to be his name that's popping out. It's not going to be the agent said or the lawyer said this. We look at the player and like, yeah, but you were part of your team that's making the decision, because the question will come from the club if they sit down with him, or even the coach sits down with him. What do you want? Because the question should be to the player. What do you want? Can the club be able to offer you what you are looking for? If not, then you're going to have to wait out the storm, wait out your contract, and hope that you can get an improved contract. Because if maybe there was a clause that said after if he scores certain goals or after number of games, because I had a contract like that when I first signed from the development, that after a couple of games we will increase your salary maybe by this much, and if that is not met, then obviously there's going to be a bit of a clash there.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for players, especially guys that are in their prime, and we're talking about, we've got AFCON in December this year, you got a World Cup around the corner. Saleng can't afford to be sitting for the next 3-4 months under contractual disputes, not playing football. And I mean, we're going to chat, I think, later on about the Bafana call-up as well. But the reality is in South Africa is also when you don't play for 6 months to 12 months, like you go back of mind to a lot of people, and people start thinking about you as well, and then your value in the market also goes down. So as much as you might be completely correct in terms of going to war over contractual issues, I mean, we saw the situation with Nurkovic. He spent a long time not playing football trying to sort out contractual issues, even though you might be fully in the right and you might have a claim and there might be a reason to really, and I mean, we all for player power, we want the right things to happen for footballers, but you have to look at your individual situation and say, can I afford to sit now for 6 to 8 months to 12 months, go to FIFA arbitration and sit through these massive long things and nothing gets solved overnight, getting back on the field? As you mentioned earlier, Peter, can they somehow sit down out of court, settle something and get this behind everybody?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, as a 66-year-old Madala, who's had many fights in his life with lots of people. And as you get older, you realize, you know what, it's not worth it. It's better to sit down and work out something between you and become the bigger man. And I'm not telling Pirates that what they must do, and I'm not telling the agent what they must do, but I think at the end of the day, there will be a solution. So let's not waste time getting to the solution. Let's try and get to the solution so we get Saleng on the pitch for Pirates, and it'll be better for Pirates, it'll be better for the agent, and it'll be better for the club. And unfortunately, it sometimes means, when we're very angry, we make decisions based on anger. I think we should make decisions in life based on how we'd like to look at this further down the line. Just on a separate note, that he's been selected for Chan. Is it antagonizing Pirates if he plays? And what would you do? He obviously has been selected. He can't turn it down. What's your call? Should he play, Cheese, or not?
I feel a little bit of like a Smolanyana set up, but or also a way of Pirates trying to get him to get his match fitness back, get in there, get the minutes, But I think for me, if I was in Saleng's shoes, I'd definitely honor the call up. I don't think there's any time where any player would actually want to set out being called up by the national team. As much as he's going through what he's going through at the club, I think that's also can be a platform for him to showcase his talent, what he's made of, because at the end of the day, like Mikey said, with him just sitting out the sidelines, he's just making things more difficult for himself in terms of when is he going to bounce back, his performance, because now all eyes are going to be on him. The first thing, people are going to go check the performance, and you know that you've been out for so long, it's going to take a bit of a while, So I think for me, let him honor that because he's here to play football. I mean, if that's his passion and something that he loves, raise your hand and go. Because I always talk from past experiences. At some stage at Pirates, if I was not in the team and not playing, I would be happy that I'd got the under-23 call-up from Steve Compella because I knew that's where I'm going to go play. Yes, I have issues at the club. I'm not playing. I'm arguing with the coach. I'm trying to understand why am I not playing. Okay, there's this issue, that issue. But I always knew that when this call-up comes, the club's got no right to say don't go. So for me, it was a platform for me to go and showcase my talent that I deserve to play. And if it's of contractual issues, I'm saying I'll be raising my hand and making sure that I perform so that you can meet what I'm actually looking for. Because if I do well and come and sit on the table, the club will definitely say, okay, no, we get it. You deserve it. Let's increase, let's do this and the option. Let's exercise that. So, yeah. So for me, Saleng, go and play football and
Mike, I got a different question to you. We
No,
all
but
know
Peter,
about
just
the
on that,
problematic relationship
I've
between
just
Safa.
yeah, but just on that, Peter, I foresee big problems here because Chan is not a FIFA date, and there's no reason that Pirates have to release him, actually, because it's going to come down to the fact that they can't say that Pirates is not using Saleng. Well, Saleng's not at work, so there's at the end of the day, I foresee a lot of trouble here because they're going to say, well, we don't have to let you go to Chan because it's not a FIFA date. You actually should be at work and you should be available for Pirates League games. So I don't know how this is all going to play out.
I'll ask you this question. Let's assume Pirates don't want him to play and they're insulted to a certain extent. There's two questions here. One, did Safa do this as part of the Ivan Khoza, Danny Jordan issues? And is this the way going saying, listen, we'll take your player? In that case, do you think Helman Makaleli will get a phone call and say, listen, he's there, but you don't dare play him? A lot can happen. We won't get you to ask that question. I'm not saying Pirates will do that. I'm just throwing it all in the mix there. It's all in the mix. It's not as simple.
That's why we're saying it might be a setup. It might be a setup.
Yeah, but we'll keep our opens. I'll certainly, by the way, normally don't often watch every Chan game, but I'll be watching this one. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come and discuss Mofokeng and potential overseas moves, what's happening there. And at the end, we'll talk about Reeve Frosler. See you right now.
What makes a city? Is it the roads? Is it the rivers or canals?
Nah. It's the people, mate. You lot, the passionate ones.
The ones who stand in the rain, and the sky blues under the blue skies.
You're part of this great city, wherever you may be.
Welcome back, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and don't hit the panic button. Hit the subscribe button and the bell. Right. Rele Mofokeng. I think Saleng may be hitting the panic button. Right. Rele Mofokeng, one of my favorite players. I love watching him. In fact, I even love watching him more than I watch most of international football. He's exciting, and it's very clear the guy's destined for a move overseas. And if we look at the scenario, a lot of people forget that last year, this time, or in January, he was at Wolves on trial. And that must have done him a world of good because he came back an even better player. He must have seen that there's a lot more physicality there. He must have seen what he's up against, and he's done very well since then. Since then, we've heard about the rumours that Barcelona B team looking at him. We've heard the story about Al Ahly and Zamalek looking at him. Clearly, Pirates don't seem against letting him go, surely at the right price and so on and so forth. Now we've got Hugo Broos coming and saying, don't make the same mistake as Cassius. I wouldn't really say Cassius made a mistake looking at where he is right now. But he says go to Belgium or go to Holland. But if you look at Percy Tau, he ended up going to Belgium, played in the lower league there, got himself into a top team there while he was on loan from Brighton, got to Brighton, didn't make it, end up back in Africa, North Africa, Al Ahly. And yes, he did very well there, a lot of medals and a lot of money, I presume. But he didn't make it big, which I thought he could. I thought he was the kind of player who could make it in Europe, especially if he'd gone to Spain, Portugal, and so on and so forth. So what would you, if you're Mofokeng's agent, what would you be looking for ideally? And also, in reality, Cheese, you've been there with the Lisbon situation with Benfica. Do you really have a choice? And there's not that many clubs. You know, you may have 2-3 clubs looking at you and the price. Only one of them makes their Pirates price, and only one give you the terms that you want. So at the end of the day, you maybe don't have a choice. Right now, I'm going to ask both of you, what would you be telling Mofokeng? Cheese.
Mikey, take it. I'll follow up. Mikey.
It's passed the ball to you, Mike.
Yeah. Personally, Peter, the Pirates fan in me and the guy that's watched Mofokeng closely over the last 6 months, like, nothing excites me more than the idea of seeing him in a Barcelona jersey. Like, I don't know if you would. I mean, obviously it's Barcelona B, and it would take multiple steps from there to get into the Barcelona first team. But I feel like if you have belief in yourself, and we all have seen a lot there, but we know there's a massive jump. But I don't think unless you really put yourself in that environment, that ability, that situation to grow, then you never know. And I know now that we've all come to the end of our careers, you don't ever want to look back and say, like, what if? And if you don't take that jump and you don't try to go to that next level, then I think you could end up looking back and saying, what if? I mean, if he goes to Barcelona B, shoots the lights out and ends up in that first team, first ever South African playing for Barcelona, I mean, is there, like, I don't know. I just, the person in me, the optimist in me wishes that it can work.
Let me even stop you. Before Cheese passed the ball to you. Let me tell you something. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, he's actually, forget about the standard of Barcelona. He is a Barcelona type of player. You know, you can see him, certainly if he was physically stronger, in a Barcelona lineup. And he's got a tremendous ability. And they're the club that would love his kind of skills. So I really hope he does go to Barcelona B, because the football's a funny game. You know, I played with Gary Bailey when he was at Cape Town City. He was third choice keeper at Cape Town City. Got a move overseas, and he was like fifth choice at Man United. And everybody got injured, played one game, and he stayed there forever and had an incredible career and a lovely guy. So these things happen. I really hope he goes there, and I hope he goes there soon, because he can dazzle, and they would nurture him, and you never know. But so I'm with you. Cheese. Now you got to try and beat that, by the way.
No, I can't beat Mike on this one. Coco Man, who does not want to go to the Camp Nou? Mamela. For me, I would also love to see the boy in that Barca shirt. And obviously, I've picked up that he adjusts quickly. So even if he's going to be there at the B side, you know, they'll have a proper assessment. They'll see where they need to improve him in order to get him ready for the first team. If they need to loan him out in one of the Spanish teams, that's still good, you know, because at some stage they'll probably bring him back to the team once they feel he's ready now to go up against the big boys. Because a lot of people are confused about this team because they hear Barcelona. Now they're thinking about, you know, the top standard Barcelona. Obviously, he's going to work his way up there. You know, I think it would be nice to have a South African player being part of the Barcelona setup, you know, and I believe Relo's got that capability. You know, I looked at an Ansu Fati. I'm looking at a Lemay Yamal. I mean, if I got a Relo in there as well, I mean, that's a brilliant mix. Obviously, they just have to work on his little bit physicality, make him adjust. So for me, I'm sticking with Mikey. I think the Barcelona move would be great. If it does not happen, I don't think he should be going to any of these other African teams now. I think his best move would be for him to move. Either he go to the French league or go to the Spanish league. But I don't want to see a player go to a Belgium league, as our national team coach has stated that that's where he should go and start, because I fully believe he's got the capabilities, you know, and I think that's why when he came back from the trials at Wolves, he was a different player, you know. It just shows how the boy can really adjust to the situation. So for me, as a Barca fan as well, my man,
Me too.
Akoko Melo.
Yeah. I see him anywhere in Spain. Right, guys, take a short break and we'll have a quick comeback with a quick chat about the future of Reeve Frosler.
Golden liquid pouring, gold splashing, gold swirling, waves of gold foaming, cut to reveal more gold. It's easy to make a beer that looks gold, but to make a beer that wins gold, that's a different story. Carling Black Label, Africa's most awarded beer.
Welcome back to SoccerBeat. Cheese and Mike here with me, Peter du Toit. Right, we're going to talk about Reeve Frosler, Kaizer Chiefs right back. He's 27 years of age. He's in the last 5 months of his contract. That means he can basically sign for anybody. So, I find that a bit strange that he's been there for a long time now. He's a regular right back for them. I don't see many better right backs than him in the country right now. Should they buy an overseas player? That means you're bringing an overseas player in a right back position. Not so sure, unless you're going to get a world beater. And then, why is he coming down to South Africa? Quick answers. Cheese, will start with you this time. Do Chiefs, do they re-sign him? Do they renew his contract? Or should they look elsewhere?
I think for me, I think he's done well for for all the seasons that he's been there, and Chiefs are really struggling in that right back position, especially when the Frosler's out injured. They had Solomon's, he hasn't also been getting that nod because he's always injured and doesn't really give as much as Frosler is doing. But I think that if Chiefs are going to go into the market, the best option they have right now is the Polokwane right back, Matuluri. I think that could be the option if they do not renew with Frosler. But if they do not have an option, they have to stick with Frosler while they go into the market and try and check out for another right back, because Chiefs is lacking when it comes to the sides, man. Remember, Peter, I don't want to talk about the other side. We talk about the right back. I don't want to go on the left back, so we stick to the right. So yeah, give him another season or two, man. At 27, I think he still has time and still has the energy to actually do what he's currently doing at Chiefs if they do not find a right back.
Mike?
Peter, it always speaks volumes for me when clubs allow their players, especially guys that are starting regularly, to come into their last 6 months of their contract. That firstly shows me that they're not convinced that they want to keep him, because if they did, they wouldn't have allowed him to get to the last 6 months, because as we all know, if he really wanted to, he could sign for anybody else in the league right now. And Chiefs are obviously not too scared of that idea that he signs for somebody else. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let it get this far. So, yeah, look, if the club's not convinced by him, maybe Nabi has his eyes on somebody else, or they've already secured or done pre-contracts with somebody else. But, yeah, always warning signs for me when you don't get the new deal before your last 6 months. So it feels to me that Chiefs want to move on from Frosler.
Yeah. It seems to be a thing that's happening in a lot of places in the world right now. But obviously, this is a report we got in the media. Soccer Doom and others mentioned it. We obviously don't have privy to the exact facts. Maybe they are in discussions with him and it's just taking a little longer, or they've agreed terms and it hasn't been announced as yet. But I think even if they're going to sign somebody else, they should certainly have him there as backup, because he hasn't let them down. Guys, thanks very much. Don't forget to keep following us, and we'll keep bringing the hottest trending news. And the Saleng story is not over, and we'll be on top of it. Cheers, Cheesy. Thanks, Mike. See you next time.
See you in the next one.
SoccerBeat, what?